Hi everyone, welcome back for another episode of What You Should Have Said Was, and just another random video that I want to do more of, where I just kind of give you my hot take on what's going on with people's SOS problems, with people's, I don't know what I should say in this situation, kind of situations. I am blessed or cursed with being absolutely unflappable when it comes to stressful situations. And in my life, I've had a lot of stressful situations happen in a variety of different settings, and I thought I'd share some of the wisdom and some of the mishaps that I've kind of encountered along the way by tackling the things that you guys are going through. So I mentioned this before, that we set up a new email. So you can email if you would like me to cover one of your SOS moments, a situation where you're not sure what to say or how to say it. I can offer my take on it, and if you want more help, you can always book a coaching session to really hammer all that stuff in if it resonates with you. So the email is whatyoushouldhavesaidwas@gmail.com. So you can write in. I'll cover what your pressing issues are, and hopefully do so with humor and levity and wisdom as well. Well, at least we strive to that here. So for now, though, I've been having fun, as I always do, scrolling through Reddit, scrolling through various different social media channels where people share about their problems and concerns and ask for advice, and I chime in there every once and again, and I save them on my phone so that when I'm inspired to, as I am today because my hair is clean and I'm feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, to offer my 2 cents on that whole situation. So let's see what inspires me today. So yeah, love this one. This one is about a breakup, a juicy breakup. And I shouldn't say that it's juicy, because it's juicy doesn't necessarily mean positive. I think it just means that, to me anyways, it means that this is a situation that is very emotionally charged. It's very emotionally laden, and I am someone who thrives in these kinds of situations where, there's an opportunity to get more awareness around our emotions. There's an opportunity to kind of grow as a person and transform, and hopefully do so in a way that inspires goodness, that inspires some kind of an upward motion when it comes to, where we're heading as a collective. And I think a breakup is such an emotionally salient event that, you can make a really big difference in someone's life by breaking up with them in the right way, in a very amicable way. So this person says, I'm going to bite the bullet on Friday evening and end my relationship with my partner. We're just not suited, and I've struggled to have feelings for her. So it's a man writing in. We've been together 6 months with one breakup in that time. Neither of us have done anything wrong, but she's just not the one for me. I feel nervous and anxious about it, though. Any tips, especially from the women? So, wow. So, first of all, I would just commend this person for not only reaching out and asking what he can do better, and how to handle it in the most humane way possible, but also recognizing that this person just isn't for him, and it's not about leaving her for somebody else. It's not about the grass is greener somewhere else. It's not about she's not this and she's not that. I think his take on it is very mature, very realistic. That said, how do you do it? How do you drop a bomb like that? 6 months is not, such a long time, but it's definitely long enough to catch feelings. It's definitely enough to start thinking about the future. And I don't know how old these people are, but it's a significant chunk of time. It's like half a year. And it's something that would be anxiety provoking for anyone. So, I mean, I can really relate to the anxiety that he's going through because, I've been through my fair share of breakups myself. I used to practice polyamory pretty actively. And so, when you date more than one person, you get to break up with more than one person. And it's tough every time. And it's something that I took really seriously. And then also, my background is in HR. So, even professionally, I'd have to break up with people in the form of firing them. So, those are the good old days. Break up with someone in the morning professionally, and then break up with someone in the evening personally, and then by the end of the day, you could just have your tea in peace. Yeah, those were the days. Not that I take pleasure in it. I don't really take pleasure in it. I think it's something that it took me a long time to wrap my mind around. But it is something that I think has like a bit of a formula. I don't like to talk about formulas because we're not robots, we're not automatons. There's not a script to follow, but there's a general sort of like guideline that I like to follow, which is to kind of take the temperature of the room first, to kind of understand where the other person's coming from, and kind of go off of that because, part of communication is attunement. And so reading the room, so to speak, putting your finger up, seeing which way the wind is blowing, that's an important thing because, here he is, for example, thinking that, oh my gosh, she's going to be devastated. Maybe he's thinking that. I didn't say that, but I'm guessing that's maybe one of the reasons why he might be feeling anxious. He might be thinking like, wow, she's, maybe doesn't see it coming, or maybe she thinks we're finally in a good place. We broke up, we got back together. That's kind of like a recommitment thing going on. And she doesn't see it coming, and maybe she's going to break down, and maybe she's going to yell at me, or she's going to maybe throw something, or maybe she'll just completely shut down and then she'll send me like hate mail for years. I don't know what he's thinking, but he's probably envisioning the worst case scenario. And I would posit that many of you, watching this video now probably have a lot of the same thoughts in your mind. Before you approach a breakup, you probably go through the worst case scenario in your head. And that's totally normal. But and that's why my first step is just to kind of read the room, read the energy of the person. For all you know, she might be not feeling it also, and she might be looking for ways to break up with you. You don't know that. So I would say, first and foremost, read the room. What energy is she bringing to the interaction? Is it a fidgety nervousness? Is it complete, relaxation and openness? Is it, agitation and anger? Start with that. Start with, what do you observe from this person's demeanor? And then play off of that, and then see where they're at, So you can open with something like, gosh, you seem really agitated. Is there something wrong? Right? And you can also relate that to your inner state. So that's the second stage. So first you sort of attune to the other person, then you see how does that inspire feelings inside of you. How are you reacting to that? And read your emotional landscape, I don't know, but your emotions, you have to be in touch with them. Well, you don't have to. I mean, I'm not here to boss you around and tell you to pay attention to your emotions. You don't have to do anything I say, but what I found helpful is looking at and recognizing how you're feeling. People tend to respond well when you do the old I statements, the classics. I feel uneasy. I feel a little sad. I feel uncomfortable. I'm feeling hesitant to say what I need to say, whatever it is, that's coming up for you. So be vigilant about the emotions that are coming up and share those as they come up. The other thing is, when you're breaking up with someone, you're ending a chapter of interactions with that person. And regardless of how long it's been, whether it's been a few dates, whether it's been a year, a couple of years, maybe a decade, you know, that person deserves to have it acknowledged that they've put in time, effort, emotional energy, you know, physical effort. They've opened up themselves to you to a certain extent. And that's an important thing to acknowledge, regardless of whether that experience was, you know, fraught with difficulties, whether that experience, you know, is not one that you would care to repeat, but that's a thing to acknowledge. And I think that a lot of the bitterness that follows a breakup comes from the fact that the good, and not even just the good, the effort that the person brought just by interacting with you on a consistent basis is not acknowledged. And so people feel like it was maybe done in vain, that maybe they didn't, you know, really leave a stamp on your heart. They didn't leave a mark in your life. And that's devastating, because a lot of people interpret that as, oh, I'm not significant, or I'm not good enough, or whatever. And this person explicitly recognizes that it actually has nothing to do with whether this person is good enough. They're just not a fit. And that's a very legit, rhyming, that's a fit because that's legit. I don't mean to be a poet, but I just am a poet. That's a very legitimate, you know, reason for a breakup. And you can be as detailed or as vague about that as the situation dictates. So, you know, somebody might want a lot of details because that might give them closure. Somebody might not be in an emotional space at the moment of impact to ask for those details, but they might want them later on. Also, you as the person, you may have different levels of comfort with giving those details. So again, monitoring what's going on inside for you is so important, right? So, you know, you'll say something like, you know, I'm feeling a little bit sad this evening because I know that there's something important that I need to tell you, and it's about our relationship. I've been giving it a lot of thought, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't think that we're a fit for an exclusive romantic connection. I really value the time that we've spent together and the memories that we've shared and the amount of effort that that you've put in making this connection, you know, what it has been. And I've learned so much. And I really, it really saddens me that it's not going to work out. But I wanted to tell you this as soon as I sort of really finalized that within me. And it's not easy to say, but ultimately I think that this ending is necessary. And it saddens me to say that. How do you feel? You know, and really hold space for what they say. Pick up on their emotions. If they're completely silent, you know, let them be silent. Don't force. This is something that I'm preaching to the choir here. Like, I am like not super comfortable with silence. Like, I definitely have that like fidgety, fill the silence feel to me because I'm most comfortable when I'm talking. Like, the only times I'm not talking is, well, I'm pretty sure I talk when I sleep anyway. But yeah, probably most of the time that I sleep, I'm silent. Like when I'm underwater, I'm not talking. Well, I sing in the shower. Anyways, yeah, most of the time I'm talking. I'm most comfortable talking. But other people might need space. And so I've had to really learn to like rein it in and let that silence sit there and deal with the feelings that come up and not force words out of someone and not force them out of myself either. And that can be really tricky for a lot of us. So try your best to hold your presence, to be present in the moment that someone is silent and just needs a moment. So yeah, they might come at you with questions or even accusations, right? And that can be a really tough thing to deal with. But, you know, if it's questions, answer them honestly as you can, given what you're sort of picking up on their energy. You know, if the question is like, so I'm not good enough for you, you know, pick up on the question behind the question. And that can be a tough skill. Maybe that merits a video on its own, because that question is not an invitation to then list all of the ways in which they are insufficient, that question is really a bid for reassurance that they were significant to you. That's really what it's a bid for. You know, and there's the underlying emotion there is anger, right? For a question like that. So try to pick up on what this person is really trying to get from the interaction. It might not be apparent with the words that they're using. And this is one of the skill sets that I sort of teach in my coaching, is how to pick up on the emotion behind what people say and respond to the emotion instead of to the words, or how to answer the question behind the question, which is the more important one usually. It's the hidden question. And so, yeah, that's a part of the whole breakup conversation, or really, I would say any conversation. Because a lot of times, you know, we use words to talk about these surface things, but beneath it all is this whole world of the unconscious. And once we shed the light of consciousness onto what is unconscious, we end up ordering it. So this whole emotional storm that people fear when it comes to breakups can really be calmed by paying attention to what's coming up for you, what's coming up for the other person, and what's present in the room. So that just really requires your awareness. Yeah, so that's kind of the long and short of it, how you would handle a breakup. Just being honest, attuning to yourself, attuning to the other person, holding space, giving yourself permission to be silent, giving the other person permission to be silent, and really just following Dan Savage's. Dan Savage is one of my favorite advice columnists. Yeah, he had this concept of the campsite rule. Now, he talked about the campsite rule as it applied to relationships that had an age gap. So he talked about how, you know, how when you go to a camping site, you're supposed to leave it better off than how you found it, right? So to be that vigilant about it. So he talked about how, you know, when there's an age and experience gap, and if the older person's sort of initiating, you know, the breakup, then it's their responsibility to kind of handle that person really gently, and by so doing, setting them up better for the next connection, right? So making sure that they're not traumatized and embittered as they enter, you know, the bulk of their dating career, so to speak. So I think that applies not only to relationships where there's an age gap, that should apply to like every interaction, especially a romantic interaction. If you can honestly say, you know what, I left that person better than I found them, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. That's something to be proud of. Of course, not possible in every case, and you should, of course, not self-flagellate if you can't meet that standard every time. Because again, it takes two to tango. There's two energies that are intertwining, and they affect each other in complicated ways. But I'm just saying that's a standard to strive for. So when you're choosing your words, when you're choosing the attitudes that you bring to that interaction, it's a good thing to have that in the back of your mind. Like, oh, campsite rule. Okay, I could take this personally, but I'm going to be patient instead. Well, I could accuse them of the very same thing that they're accusing me of, but, you know, campsite rule. I want to leave them better off than when I found them. So that's sort of the overall attitude that I suggest that people have. And it's also a tricky one, because you might have some unsettled scores that you might want to use this. You might think, okay, now that we're breaking up, I'm going to put all my cards on the table, and you never did the laundry, and you never, you know, I folded up all your dirty socks or whatever, and it's not the time. It's really not the time. Because again, like we remember that breakup often much more vividly than the bulk of the relationship. Like that, you know, those moments are just so few and far in between for most people that we really have to handle them with kindness, with generosity of spirit, and with the campsite rule in mind. So those are my tips for breaking up. I know it's a bit of a sad episode. I wish I could leave you with something hopeful, but hopefully that's been helpful for you. And I hope to see you again in the next one. Thank you so much, as always, for watching, and take care. Bye-bye.